Hello, we are live for Pals Pulls. This is the Comics Pals weekly show where some amount of the four of us get together to talk comics. Actually, all four of us are together this week. So say hello, Marco,
Hello.
Kale,
What's up, hot dogs?
Tyler.
Hello, Marco.
There you go. And I'm Sean saying hello, Marco, and hello, listeners. Thank you for joining us. We actually have 5 books this week.
How many?
There you go. You guys are hot today. We just couldn't pare the list down. Honestly, we probably could have done even more books. There were books that got left out. The poll this week was just, a lion's den because there were so many good books in that. Like I kind of thought we might end up reading Blue Book this week by James Tinian.
I hoped.
But that's not what I voted for. I voted for the winner.
You vote in this poll?
Of course.
Whoa!
Wow.
Hold on a
You
second.
guys don't vote?
I know.
You
I've
don't
been-
vote in your
I-
own poll.
I've
I'm
been
a host.
abstaining.
Of course, I don't vote in my
Yeah.
poll.
Of course. You
Kale's
don't want
not
to
in the
boost the
US. I
numbers?
didn't think
You
you
don't
could.
you don't like the YouTube video? Are you subscribed? Are you kidding me?
That's different.
And look
No,
at
it's
Marco.
not.
Different, you
Marco
know
just
it.
looks like a guy who
not.
doesn't vote.
It's a listener pick, and I don't listen to this show.
Well, I do. So there you go.
I vote. I vote, Sean.
Of course you
I
vote.
don't-
That's
I don't
normal
vote.
to vote.
I would argue that we have the most important voice.
All right, hey,
We're
listen.
the ones who have to read it.
Now that I know I can spam the vote, let's
You
go.
can't spam.
Rock,
You can't spam.
rock the vote. Yeah, let's not cheat, but
Yeah.
rock the vote.
Hey, that's not what was said.
How many burners do you have, Cal?
Sorry?
How many burners does Cal have where he's going to be spamming this vote?
I got so many burners. Y'all don't even know. Y'all haven't even heard about my sex burner.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
There's a doctor
wow.
you can go for that. There's some ointments for that as well.
All right.
That is a lot more information than I thought I'd ever have about Kale. Well, we've got books to talk about. We are going to be talking about Immoral X-Men number
Ooh,
1.
You got that good variant.
Had to get the Emma Frost Sinister variant. This is
Mm.
beautiful.
Brooks?
Mark Brooks.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
yeah.
I gotta
Oh,
say
boy.
the shoulder, that shoulder on the Lineal U variant,
Oh, I think it's the one I have on the
absolute murder. Woof.
Yeah. It's
On the, what is that, the A cover?
does not skip arm day. That's for sure.
Man.
We've got Superman number 1. Joshua Williamson's debut.
Also a muscular fellow, that one.
Indeed. Clayface, One Bad Day.
The opposite of a muscular fella, I'd
That's
say.
the-
I would argue.
Listener
Squishy boy.
pick winner, by the way. Junkyard Joe.
Oh.
Yep. Junkyard
Sean,
Joe
how do you
number 5.
how should we be pronouncing that?
Well, in certain communities, it would be pronounced as Junkyard Yo.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. And then we have Black Cloak number 2. I really like this variant.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Which Junkyard Joe one did you get, Sean? I looked away for a second.
I got this one. The
Gotcha. You didn't get the A variant. That's like the Dick Cheney variant.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
I got
got it.
the
It's on the stream.
two sides.
It's more of a visual
variant.
joke. But
Yeah. All right. Just before we get into these book reviews, I do want to let you guys know how you can find and support the show all over the internet. We are the Comics Pals, at the Comics Pals, and also all social media platforms. The best way to support the show is heading on over to patreon.com/the Comics Pals, where for as little as $3 a month, you can help us out and you get access to stuff like our newsletter. I put out mine this week. I ranted about people who are mad about other people enjoying things. You get access
I wanna read
to
that.
our sorry.
I want to read that one.
Yeah, maybe you should. I mean, of
Yeah,
course
maybe you should.
Jesus Christ,
Do you guys make all the cocktails I put on the Patreon?
I don't know how to make
No.
cocktails.
I've only made
Andre.
one because I don't have all of the alcohol you have.
You can also listen to our Patreon exclusive show, Palling Around, which we have a good time on. There's a new one either out or will be
It's
out
out.
shortly.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah, it's out.
So
Ties into Sean's newsletter apparently.
indeed it does. Indeed it does. So if you get into both, you'll figure out why. Watch this show live every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. God's Hour.
Not where I am.
Is that a thing? God's hour?
No.
It is
no,
now.
no.
I don't know.
6 p.m. on a Thursday.
It's like a
EST.
Twilight
God's
hour.
Hour. And if you want to hear the main show, that's 10:15 a.m. Eastern every single Saturday. This week we will be talking about the new Jonathan Hickman, Brian Hitch series that's taking things back Ultimate style. So that should be a lot of fun. And whatever else happened this week in the news.
Ultimate style is also the types of tweets that Kale looks for on his sex Twitter burner.
Right.
Wow.
Also,
All
my
right.
Five Guys order.
Callback.
Okay. Well, let's call back to Immoral X-Men. I wish we could call back to when this series was good. This
Yikes.
is
Right out the gate.
well, listen, I'm just saying, we haven't been enjoying this for a while. So, this is, of course, by Kieran Gillen, written by Kieran Gillen. Paco Medina on the pencils. We got inks by Walden Wong and Victor Alazaba. J. David Ramos and Chris Sotomayor on colors, and Clayton Cowles did the letters. This is the first issue of Immoral that will take place in the Sins of Sinister event. So this is the year 10 issue. I missed the Nightcrawlers review. You guys didn't care for that too much, right?
You missed the review, but you got the gist of it. So
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe better than this.
Wow.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
you
think
prefer
the
that?
other way.
Right. There were aspects of this that I liked, but there were just some I was confused about whose narration it was at first.
Yeah.
He's got to get a handle on that. It's not even interesting trying to think about whose it might be. It's more just cumbersome.
What was confusing about that?
Especially early on in the narration, I wasn't sure whose it was because it felt like it could have been Xavier's, but I was like, maybe it's Emma's. There were times I thought maybe it was Sinister's.
So
It was very confusing.
what tipped me off on it, I think it's really the only way you'll know, is the first narration box has Emma's logo on it. It has a diamond, like a actual diamond in it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just a white narration box. So it's like,
Oh my god, that's the faintest
it's
thing.
the faintest
Yep.
thing. It's
I
like
mean, come
blue.
on.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's a problem when
100%. Yeah.
when the narration
What the frick?
of a series that has the same characters in it every issue, you can't tell who the narrator is just by how they're talking or what they're saying.
The voice isn't there.
Yeah, that's not good. That's
It's
a
a big
real
issue.
big problem.
It's a big issue in this too because everyone is a Sinister clone, so everyone's kind of
Yeah.
channeling Sinister in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think it sounds like Emma, but it sounds like an Emma we haven't really heard in years.
I thought it sounded like an inversion of what Professor Xavier was saying in the last issue. So I was like, okay, maybe this is how he thinks now that he's sinisterized.
Sinister eyes. It's like the Venomized event.
Yeah.
It only ticked me off when on that third page when Emma's there. It's like Charles is so soft. It's on her side, and she's looking at him. Then I'm like, oh, this could. I didn't notice the diamond either. It was only at that point I'm like, oh, this is probably Emma in that case because they're in the same scene. She's reflecting on what just happened.
Right.
Otherwise, I think to your point, there's it's not as easily distinguishable.
Eventually, you do, of course, realize this is an Emma Frost issue, and you come around to understanding whose narration it is. But I do think that some tightening up could be done, especially because this isn't the only time this series has had that problem. But that being said, there is a lot of Sinister here, of course. now Sinister needs to try to think this problem through because he just doesn't have access to the Moira clones anymore. He's got to figure out what to do about this. And who better to talk to than himself about this? You know what? It's kind of weird. As much as I hate Sinister right now, and I use that word deliberately because that's really how I feel, I did not hate this scene.
For me, that was the best part of the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weirdly, two Sinisters was the key to our problem.
They negate each other. You got a negative, and a negative makes a positive.
And I think part of what helped was that I actually felt sympathy for the fresh clone.
Oh,
So
interesting.
obviously, I knew he was going to be killed,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Damn, that sucks." He only exists just to be just to be spoken to. But we know they all have personalities. They're real to them, to themselves. So I felt bad for him. That highlighted Sinister's cruelty. That behind all the machinations and stupid jokes, he's actually an awful person. He doesn't care about anything. Human life is irrelevant, or life, I should say, is irrelevant.
I think it. I didn't care about that Sinister, the clone, the other clone Sinister, because he was fodder. And listening to our Sinister talk it out, I kind of started to hang out with him and feel for him because he's as annoyed with himself as in the other Sinisters. He's annoyed at the character of Sinisters the way we are.
I feel like this entire event is just a Sinister story, and it's him coming to terms with his own issues. You know, and like what hit, like, because there's no growth for any of these characters besides Sinister, really, because of the nature of the event. It's going to be reset, but I think Sinister keeps his memory, like, there are backups for certain things, so like maybe he'll have some forward momentum.
Yeah,
but I can't guarantee anyone else will. This book was a little like really, like, the cover alone is a hint as to what you're getting in it, but it really leans into like Emma being like this like dominatrixing evil scene chewing villain version of Sinister.
Boy, in a cheeseball way.
Yeah, it's not subtext at all. It's dom text, really. If anything. You know, she sleeps next to a St. Andrew's cross, apparently. It's just like she talks about, you know, like Sinister's kinks. I'm like, all right, Kieran, what are you trying to get out of this?
It was so much that it was like, I gotta tell you, this is not enjoyable.
Yeah, it was. And it's a bummer too, because I think this is our Immortal X-Men Emma POV issue, because we've never gotten one in Immortal X-Men, right?
We did.
We did. Yeah, it's like the second issue or something.
Okay. Yeah, I lost track.
Pretty early on.
But
go ahead, Marco. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it was a good bit when all the Scots came out, and she's just like, "Oh, easy, I can handle these."
Yeah, that was good.
I really like the idea that Sins of Sinister is us seeing the hell of Sinister's hell, basically. A hell of his own creation. His machinations have gotten himself to the point where he is now in hell, and that hell is himself. Everyone is him. He hates himself. He's trying to figure out how to beat himself, but he can't because he can't think outside of himself. So anything that he would do, the clones would figure out because they are him. I think that's really smart. And so I do want to give everybody involved credit for that. I just don't like Sinister right now. And so I'm having a hard time swallowing this. And I do think some of this is just sort of painful. Like it's some of it is sort of rough. I read Nightcrawlers and Sins of Sinister back to back, so I apologize if I'm miscrediting this book with this, but there are jokes that Sinister's telling to himself, you know, like little jokey comments or things inside the the information pages, and I'm just like, come on, man, you're telling yourself jokes.
I mean, I do that all the time.
Yeah, but you're weird.
I think what took me out was the Hope characterization, and I know like they write it off saying, you know, like, oh, she's a little messed up because she doesn't clone correctly.
Yeah.
That was just like, no, that's not her in any way. Is that ever her?
Right.
Hmm.
I liked. Let me talk about another thing I really liked. I liked the Nasty Boys reference. That was cool. That's Sinister's like team, his villain team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So them being here, that was kind of cool. Very unexpected.
Were they the Cyclops people?
Yeah, the Cyclops people. Yeah. I thought that was cool, and I'm enjoying the idea of Sinister. This event being all about Sinister bringing about his own comeuppance. So okay, fine, but where is this going to go? That's my curiosity right now. I'm back in, even though I did not love this issue, and I think I liked Nightcrawlers more. I'm back in.
I felt a lot more of the time skip with this one, surprisingly, than I did Nightcrawlers.
Mm.
And I liked that better. I felt a bit more grounded. And I'm kind of excited that in the next, excited is, you know, I use that word liberally. You know, the next Sins of Sinister issue is 100 years in the future. Right. I like this time jump situation.
Yeah, I think how they execute that will be whether or not I enjoy this event entirely. Because we've only seen the year 10 so far in the 3 books: Storm and the Brothers and Mutants, Nightcrawlers, and Immoral X-Men. So that's the real shtick of it, is those time jumps. So we'll see where that goes.
Didn't we get 100 or something in one of the first ones?
Like the Alpha, the Sins of Sinister
right?
#1. Yeah,
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm out. This isn't the X-Men in the way that I want to see them. Like I want to get back to Krakoa. I don't necessarily care for what Sinister's doing and the way he's doing it. I want to see more of the people and the mutants, and which is why Wolverine is still solid for me. Right? It's like a character within the world, and I'm happy to just follow that character at this point.
How did you guys feel about the notion? And again, I might be, you know, conflating issues because of when I read them, but the notion that Sinister is that there's a part of him that's maybe redeemable and useful.
I mean, yeah, he's probably going to be useful down the road, especially if they continue with reviving people through these genetics and through these mutation, like through the powers that get encoded from, you know, Professor X. And I think they're still going to need him as that redundancy, because I don't know of any other character that can create the redundancy. Like that was his purpose, was create the redundancy. Should something happen, they have a backup to their original plan. But I think he is too important of a character within the structure and framework of the basis of Krakoa for him to disappear outright.
I mean, isn't it what they posit in this issue? The fact that, you know, like Rasputin was like a blueprint in this, that he can make these like 5 power chimeras. That's how the Sinisters view him as, you know, useful. But are we just in a self-perpetuating Hoxpox situation, or like this is how we always got to that level of Hoxpox, where Rasputin exists? Like nothing's really changing. We're just seeing the inevitable outcome in a way.
Right. Well, I was thinking, because Sinister is a unique character in a positive way, in the sense that what makes him most useful is not a mutation. He's pretty unique in that sense. You can't, because we know that they can theoretically put another person, like attach another personality to a body, right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, could they give the body of Sinister the mind of, just as a character, don't get, attached to this, Professor Xavier, right? That wouldn't yield a result, because that's not why Sinister can do what he can do. He's a genius. He's a genuine genius.
Yeah.
So can he be turned? Because if he could be turned, a Sinister who genuinely wants to help is the greatest ally that the mutants could ever have outside of themselves. But how do we get him to that point? So I'm wondering if maybe Sins of Sinister is a way to get Sinister to realize how much of a dick he is and actually turn him to the side of the mutants. And maybe that's why Destiny is letting this all play out, because she knows that in the end, he's going to end up on their side because he realizes that his way never works.
That he's just going to frustrate himself into submission? Like,
yeah. Because I think that's he goes through all of those scenarios in the the prologue or whatever, where he's repeatedly trying to kill the Quiet Council, and then finally one thing goes right and he gets it, but now he's having to sort of relive the extended Groundhog Day. Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. I think that sort of lends credence to my theory. I don't know if I've said it on the show, but I think that this will be the type of thing that ends where we began.
Then I'd be frustrated, because I would like
with Sinister's new knowledge.
New knowledge and on their side.
This is an event that is happening to Sinister and Sinister alone.
Interesting.
I'm fine with that if that's the outcome. Do I need it to span 12 issues? And an event that disrupts the main story? No.
Yeah. The 12 issue thing, I like. Taking over the entire X line, I'm not crazy about.
Yeah.
I think if this does go that way, I'm happy with that. Not to say that the event from a quality standpoint thrills me, but if that's the trajectory, then cool, sure. But I think Kale's right in that it has to be something that only Sinister knows, so that when he inevitably gets reset and gets back to that point where he enacts what leads to Sins of Sinister, he makes the decision not to. And that's why the rest of the X books can't go on, because they're all sort of stuck in that moment, because from that moment, that's like a pivotal point of change for these characters, is what Sinister will do. So I thought the Paco Medina art was pretty good. I really was freaked out by his depiction of the Sinister clone melting. That was horrifying.
That was intense.
That was cool.
It's the
really good
second melting character we had this week.
The Logan patch as a concept was real cool.
That was cool.
I want one of
that
those.
was fun.
Yeah.
I thought he was almost Art Adams in a way, in the way he drew Emma in a couple of the shots. I think there's that face-off that Emma and Sinister have in his lab, his Westchester lab, where it's like a close-up shot of Emma. Like, it
Her
looked
face.
very Art Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. It was good. I think it was solid. No gripes. All effective. Good paneling. Good pacing. It did the work.
Yeah. I will pull this.
I would not, but I think it is a pull for people who want to continue to follow this. I think it's good enough for that.
I was kind of mid on it, but pull for the cover.
I overall, I'm fine to keep reading it for the show, but I think overall I'm a pass.
I cannot believe that the person who was the most annoyed by all of the stuff that's been happening with Sinister, am the only one with a pull on this book.
Proves you're a mark.
Yeah, you're the markiest mark of all the marks. You're more marky the marky mark.
I sold myself on the book, Kale.
Hey, listen, you didn't sell the rest of us.
All right.
Not this week.
Okay. Well, Joshua Williamson is trying to sell us on his rendition of Superman in Superman #1. We've got, of course, the aforementioned Williamson, joined by Jamal Campbell on art, letters by Ariana Mayer. Now, it feels like we just read a Superman #1 because Action Comics had their big sort of refresh. This is the actual genuine Superman #1. Not that a #1 for Superman even means anything, because it's just starting from wherever the creator is starting from.
Yeah.
That being said, I think that this is the second Superman book on the stands at the same time, pretty remarkable, in which I think the writer has a pretty solid handle on Superman and his group of characters. This felt really good. This felt good.
And I think in my whole time of reading comics, I don't think there's ever been two creative teams at the same time doing two Superman books well.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? Like simultaneously. So like I feel like I'm kind of eating good right now.
Yeah. One thing I love about a good Superman book is that you'll get just a little taste of a Clark Kent nugget. For me, it was that he likes to listen to music.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, of course. That makes total sense. Especially, as they keep having to kind of slide the timeline.
My question though was
rules.
Did he have a Bluetooth headphones plugged into a CD player? What CD player has a USB slot?
Listen.
Surely it was a 3.5, but
it's a LexCorp exclusive, okay?
Supercore.
We don't have it yet.
Could be a special JLA thing that
could be, yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I think it read through with really just genuine moments, like the wedding, where he just, you don't have an officiant? Superman's an officiant. Sure. Why not?
Yeah, of course he is.
Like that. That's just perfect. And then, and I liked the concept of like Supercorp and the way that Lex is framing this now, because as much as he is an antagonist, when he's not in direct conflict, I think playing up some of that goofiness makes for a good Superman story, or it makes for a good Superman beat in relation to Lex and Clark.
And I also thought the way they did the Lex essentially being the man in the chair for Superman.
Yeah.
But it's a one-way kind of communication, because Lex is just talking and he knows Superman can hear him wherever Lex is. It's just a genius bit. Like, of course Superman is always tuned into what Lex is saying. Why wouldn't he? And I thought that was great. Like Lex knew it, and he can manipulate him as much as he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's smart, but I found myself annoyed with it. Maybe
Imagine
it's because
how Superman felt.
Right. That's fair. I don't know. I had this problem with a couple of books where I felt like there was just too many word balloons on the pages and too many characters talking at the same time. I just didn't care that Lex could do that, and I just didn't think it was, not that it was unnecessary. I didn't like it. I understood it, I get it, but I just didn't like it.
Sure.
I personally found it to be a really interesting device.
Yeah.
I would be really interested if it turns out that it wasn't Lex.
Oh, interesting. Well, but
Yeah.
we know that he was in communication with his assistant,
Yeah.
and by virtue of that, like at some point they're like, oh, they were in communication about where he was, and he's not going to make it to the prison and all that.
And
So I think it is confirmed him.
the cafeteria lady is like, "Hey, stop talking to yourself." So
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I like the fact that in the Daily Planet, you know, Clark, when he's in his regular clothes, he looks like a Hulk.
Yeah.
And you know, that's obviously Jamal Campbell taking some creative license, if you will. But you know, Superman is a big guy. Like that's how he's often portrayed. But I feel like a lot of times in the comics, he doesn't look that way when he's in his civilian clothes. So I really appreciated that here. Like he's just a massive teddy bear guy.
he almost looks bigger as Clark Kent than he does as Superman.
Yeah.
Because he just looks uncomfortable
Right.
in his clothes. Like even
I
like
think
the
he
way
is.
his tie looked, like his collar wasn't fully down, so you can see
Yeah.
the tie all around. Like he looks slovenly and messy.
It looked very Frank Whiteley inspired to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I loved Campbell's art, especially the way he drew
Yeah.
Clark.
gonna
I thought
say.
that was great.
Yeah, Campbell was a great choice. Not that Campbell's art style is what you would traditionally expect from a Superman book, but that's exactly why it was a great choice. Because I think, you know, if we're doing something different, let's do something different. And it has classic hallmarks to it. You know, like I think there are things about this that remind me, like, for example, when Lois pops out, you know, as the new chief of the Daily Planet, like that, I could see Perry in that pose, but
Yeah.
it's her now. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciated that. How did you guys feel about that shift, this new role for her?
It's nice to see Lois doing something for once.
About time.
Damn. It was good. I think it's a good progression for her. Like she's the top journalist. It just makes sense that she would therein fall into this role or be chosen for this role, even though it's not permanent, seemingly. But I think for her to be that person for Perry to rely on makes a lot of sense, and I think she fits the role.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unsure how I feel about it. I think obviously they want to give Lois something to do, but I think what she says about her being in the role is kind of how I feel, in the sense that I'd rather see her going out and doing things than being sequestered. It feels not appropriate for Lois, but I trust, or I hope at least, that Williamson has a plan for her. One thing I will say about Joshua Williamson as a writer, and I have a lot of good things to say about him, but in particular, he's great at, you know, digging down into what people like about a character or what's essential to a character and drawing that out. I think he did a great job with that on The Flash. And I think if this issue 1 is anything to go by, he's got that nailed down with Superman and the relationship between Superman and Lex. So I'm trusting him with Lois and everyone else as well. Overall, I think this was a banger.
Yeah, and the other bit that I liked about it is we are 1 issue into Superman, and we already see, you know, Lex and 2 of his other Rogues Gallery characters that, like Livewire and Parasite. Like, when do we ever really see them? You know?
Yeah.
So
It's my book of the week.
it was almost mine until I got to the next one.
Well, see, it's a toss up between this one and the next one. I think this one edges out for me.
This one is mine as well.
But like, I love the Superman Rogues Gallery, and I never really get to read about them.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the most I see about them is like a Suicide Squad book. You know?
Yeah, and that Parasite cliffhanger is great.
Yeah.
Like I remember as a kid, like right before I got into comics, I would go to like Six Flags, and I would go on the Superman roller coaster there. And like the line as you're waiting, it just shows you all of his Rogues Gallery characters, and I'm like, oh, these guys are friggin' awesome. Who are these guys? But like I would never get to read about them, so like it's always been something I wanted. So seeing that in this, I was pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, this is a home run. Definitely pull.
Yep.
If you're a Superman fan, this is probably the best time for you If you're not, I think that you should jump on board. I've never enjoyed Superman more than I am right now. So worth picking up.
The last thing on it was just I enjoy that the twist is not villains for Superman, but villains for Lex. Like that is a good twist on
That's interesting. Yeah.
like a classic. Because we're gonna go through Superman's Rogues Gallery. No, actually, what does Lex's look like? All right,
Speaking of rogues, let's talk about the series that's been highlighting Batman's rogues. We got Batman One Bad Day, Clayface #1. This was the listener pick this week. I think the listeners got it right. It would be a weird one if we did not review one of these One Bad Day specials.
Is that all of them? Have you reviewed all of them?
No,
Thus far, we have.
We got Raj Al Ghul coming up next,
Mm-hmm.
and
I think that's the last one.
I think so. Yeah.
I think this is 7 of 8.
Damn, I wish
There's
there
no
was a Mad
Killer
Hatter.
Moth one. No.
Just
don't
give
think
us
so.
the Mad Hatter, please. Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing on this. I'm not sure how much DC work they've done, but I think this is the first of it that I would have read in any of them.
Same.
Quite a bit. I think they did a whole Batman Beyond
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
miniseries fairly recently. I think
Yeah, yep.
they've been around.
We got Zermanico on the art here and Romulo Fajardo Jr. on colors, Tom Napolitano on the letters. Clayface is one of my favorite villains in comics, easily one of my favorite Batman villains. Most people would say he's a D-lister. In my mind and heart, this is an A-list villain. I think that this One Bad Day Clayface might just be my favorite of the One Bad Day books so far. I think this shit was fire. I think that these two writers nailed who Basil Karlo is, and they managed to tell a story that works on several different levels. There are layers to this. This was fantastic. And if you don't give Zermanico all his flowers right now for the way that he showed off Clayface's transformations,
Good.
please, let's go.
Sean, who was the letterer?
Oh, this was Napolitano, Tom Napolitano.
But flowers to him
Yes.
too. Like
Yes.
yeah.
100%.
The transformations that Zermanico pulls off feel as liquid and fluid as watching it on the animated series.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Love fluids.
Yeah.
I'm Sean, did you ever read the Riddler one? Did you ever get to it?
Yes. Yeah. We
Okay.
talked about it.
Oh yeah, and that segment we used to do. I think this is my favorite one out of all of them. It did exactly what I wanted. I think it did what the premise is, really. It made a
Yes.
definitive one-shot story.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. I disagree. I still
Okay.
disagree. I think this is a bad day for Clayface, but this isn't the one.
I mean, there's only like 5, so. I like that. I like how it's like
Right,
they took it out of Gotham. You know, they did what I always thought would be smart with Clayface and bring him to LA. It's a bit of Barry, it's a bit of La La Land, but it's really dark. I enjoyed it. I love how it's kind of it does that. It tells a good, decent Basil Karlo, like coming to terms with him not really being anyone, but being able to be anyone at the same time. He's a nobody that can be everybody. But it also plays with the idea of movies and comic book movies. There's a slight little jab at Zack Snyder in this, and how everything needs to be, IP and everything needs to have,
Great
sequel
violence.
value and stuff. I thought that was great. Just the idea of like Basil having to be this younger actor trying to make it in LA. So he's a waiter for most of the book. I love that. It builds a supporting cast who you feel for, but they're fucked. Because deep down, Clayface is a monster. and it leans into that. I really, really like this.
Yeah, this is my pick of the week.
Same.
I like this a lot. I think this is second only to the Riddler. This was very, very strong, especially compared to the rest. But for me, it's the same notes as every other Clayface story. There are only 5, like you say, but it's the same thing. It's expanded out just a little bit. It's very stylistically well done.
Sure.
But it's still, that story.
It feels like a much more modern take on it, though. It feels like
that. Hey, listen, that's not part of my argument. I can't argue with that.
But I think it feels like a much more modern take on it. Like it's very of the times, Like the fact that it ends with him in an Arkham cell, I guess, talking to himself really and all the people that he's killed throughout the issue, and it's just a peer feedback session like an acting class. Oh, I thought it was like that was a bow on the top of this one shot. Man, it's shit. I might buy this physically.
There was so much to love in this book, man.
Yeah.
Like they've really honed in on what you can do when you identify who a character is. Like the fact that this works on multiple levels. I love the fact that everything Clayface thinks he has to have in order to succeed ultimately fails. So like he wants to be in this movie, so he goes to try out. They tell him no because they don't like the way he did it. So he's like, "Oh, I'll become my best friend to take on this role." But then it's like, no, they don't want the way you want to do it at all. Right. So then he becomes the director to make it so that they have to make the movie. But the director doesn't have enough power because the guy over him is saying we're not making the movie. So then he kills that guy. And then when he runs everything, he runs into Batman.
Yeah.
So there's just always something keeping him down, which I really loved.
It's him. He's keeping himself down because he just can't get it through that. Like that, he has to relinquish himself at some point to what somebody else is going to dictate. But he can't take that he can't take that no.
And the fact that like he's also auditioning for it looks like the movie version of The Killing Joke, I thought was a good little bit. Yeah. The idea of the setting too. It's just the fact that it's always sunny, and it's only when things get really bad does the night come, and as soon as it turns into night, Batman shows up.
Right.
And I thought that slow build towards it getting darker and darker and darker until the actual Dark Knight shows up was again like just greatly paced too. Batman has a Ghostbusters trap for Clayface just at the ready apparently.
Genius. That was sick. And I love, again, the fact that, like, this dude is a nut. He really is a nut. But there's an aspect of him that we can all relate to. It's like, if only my boss would see my vision. Like, why don't you understand? And you can imagine that as an actor, the person who has to bring a character to life, you probably feel like you know best. So who's this director or who's this casting agent or whatever to tell me what I know? If only I was in charge of directing this and I had control, this would be amazing. It'd be a hit. And maybe you're right. Writers think they're right. They think they know better than the editors and the people who are above the editors in the big two. But they don't get to make that argument, But what if they could? And so this feels like that to me. I really love it, and I felt bad for Basil. And it wasn't until, this is so weird, it wasn't until Batman said, and Basil gives this amazing performance, he's crying in the rain, he's talking about, how unfair life is and everything else, and Batman snaps him to reality, and he says, 9 people you killed. Yeah. That's the only thing that matters. And then I went, whoa, what was I sucked into? Of course this dude is an asshole. He just killed 9 people. I was convinced. I bought it.
He's doing like a Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner sort of thing there. Yeah.
Batman is the answer to every one of his villains. Clayface put on a performance that sold me after I just watched him catch 9 bodies. And Batman cut right through that and said, "No, you suck. To jail with you."
Yeah. And also like the other like cool little bit in this is the screenplay that is really the script of the book intercut
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I thought
Good
that was
device.
really fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved everything about this. No notes.
Tyler, I was going to ask, why are there some that are highlighted yellow?
I
Emphasis.
assumed that is somebody reading like that. It's like actor. They'll highlight things that they that jump out to them. Like if you're reading a book and you're making annotations and stuff.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes
emphasis.
your lines are highlighted as well in a script.
Dan Trudeau says it's like on The Sopranos. You start liking Tony and then feeling for him, and then he does something to remind you that he's a monster.
100%.
Yep.
I've not seen The Sopranos except for one episode where he takes his daughter college searching.
College. Yes.
I watched
Arguably
it.
the best.
Yeah, I watched it in a history of TV class.
Of course you did, because that is the only episode of The Sopranos that they would use for a class of that nature. Although The Sopranos is the greatest show of all time. But anyway,
He made me watch a Breaking Bad episode too. So
God, I'm tired of you and your lack of watching good television. Man has all the time in the world for Drag Race, but none of it for The Sopranos.
yeah, gotta watch people serve cunt. It stands for charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, Sean. All right.
Sean was like Emma Frost there. He wrapped that chain around Tyler's neck and walked him there. And Tyler said, "Okay,
Hey,
take a Tyler to Drag Race. He's gonna cunt it up."
What is happening? Is that never mind. You know what?
let's just duck walk to the next book.
This book was fantastic. I think it was worth every dollar and cent. I'm actually thinking about reading it again because of how much I enjoyed it. Zermanico's art is phenomenal. The way he
Absolutely.
draws Clayface is so good. He doesn't just look like a lump of shit.
That is a problem. Yeah, you're right.
Man, give me the movie. Give me the Clayface movie. I need it.
This
need
proves
it.
that it's possible, and also like the Gray Ghost reference in this. I was like, yeah.
Love that too. Yeah.
I mean,
Fantastic. Yeah. This is brilliant stuff. Pick of the week.
Sean, there was a highlighted message. You want to read that real quick?
Oh, let me see. Nope, not on me. I'll pass the buck on that one. You will not get me saying that word on this show.
Well, it stands for something.
Charisma,
So go ahead and read it.
nerve, and talent.
What was it, Tyler?
Charisma, uniqueness. I can't say that word. Nerve and talent, Marco.
Serve that. I forgot already what the C was.
All right. Never mind. All right. You want to get to the next book?
Yeah. Let's talk about Junkyard Joe, number 5. This is by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and Brad Anderson. In my opinion, the best creative team in comics right now. This book picks up on where we left things off. The kids are in danger. The goons, the government goons, are trying to find Junkyard Joe, and now they've got the kids, and shit's gonna hit the fan. Yet again, I think another phenomenal issue from Junkyard Joe. I think this was really strong as well. We know that Junkyard Joe has some level of PTSD based on his war experience. And we see him having actual flashbacks in this issue, which, I don't even know how that's possible. But I love that it happened anyway, because it connects me more closely to Junkyard Joe, and it opens up my mind to, again, what is possible for this character's mind, quote unquote, for lack of a better phrase. I'm way into Junkyard Joe as a character.
Yeah. I was a little worried that with only being one more issue left, like I wasn't sure where the story was going, but after this, I'm like, all right, no, it can have a clean ending by next issue, at least for this story. I don't think Junkyard Joe his story is gonna end. I mean, it doesn't because
We
it
know
happens
there's more.
in Geiger, but I thought it was a good issue. It's the whole issue. I was like, oh, this is kind of what I expected. It's good. It's pretty much standard for this team. Like a damn good book. And then that last twist at the end, where it's I guess spoiler for it. Spoiler. Where's my spoiler alert button? Is that still working? Oh yeah, that works. Okay. They pretty much said, oh yeah, Junkyard Joe kills everyone he comes into contact with.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, oh boy, all right, let's see this ending.
Well, that we already know that's not true.
Do we?
Junkyard Joe didn't kill the Vietnam soldiers.
No, but I think that depending on like where the situations that he's been put into, with I assume guns and guards, all that stuff, for them he has killed everybody. But realistically, outside of that, if you're not armed, he's probably not going to do a thing. But I'm assuming
that would make it not true.
No, for sure. But for them, that's all the information they have with respect to that context.
Sure.
And I thought it was like, oh, they decommissioned him for a reason. Like maybe something, it just got, too much for him. Like they didn't clear his cash out or something. So he just overwhelmed and he just started, fritzing by the end.
He also didn't kill that hunter with the gun.
Right.
He viciously maimed him, but he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think that was a cliffhanger that worked. It didn't work for me if the goal was to get me to fear for the family.
Yes.
Because I think we already know, based on what we've seen, that Junkyard Joe is not a murderer like that. It worked for me in the sense that we know that they're taking this seriously and they're probably going to send more goons than just the ones we see in this issue to get Junkyard Joe. Given we know that he ends up back in government control, that throws the end result of this series up in the air.
I read this as the guys that are attacking Junkyard Joe right now is a third party.
Yes.
And the government was at the end saying, oh, yeah, these guys didn't even know Junkyard Joe existed until recently, and now they're after him because they got control over these files and stuff.
That's the way that I read it, and I think that they come along and finish people off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think it's going to lead to like a three-way standoff that is just not going to end well for anyone involved. Yeah. It's going to be a mess. I mean, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the Gary Frank, drawing that.
Yeah. Junkyard Joe is it's just remarkable how complicated this character feels, and I'm bummed that this book is coming to a close and we don't really know when or how we're going to see him again. Because of the way the timeline of this all works out, we know we're going to be getting a Geiger special, but that appears to be telling Geiger stories, not necessarily a story about Junkyard Joe. Yeah, other than that, I mean, there's not like a ton that happens in this issue in terms of, it's really just those main beats. The family's in trouble. The dad finds out Muddy's been attacked. He's laid out on the ground. And now it's just about getting the kids back. I'm excited to see how this wraps up. I'm glad, though, that it's not going to be too much longer because I like the fact that this is a sort of shorter, self-contained story. We talked about how it reminds us of E.T. And I think if this were too long and unwieldy, it would lose that feeling. So yeah. I'm pretty happy this is wrapping up. I've gotten what I need, and it's going to leave me wanting more, but maybe at a different point in time.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Toplin, to Plan Kingdom says maybe there's a brain in there. I assume that's in reference to Junkyard Joe. I hadn't considered that, but I don't think so. But it's possible. Right?
Maybe the the message as far, or the theme as far as that goes, is this PTSD that he's going through is even stronger than his programming.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, dude, it's just so crazy how the Junkyard Joe character is a representation of what happens to people in war. Like, you get built. Junkyard Joe was built to do this. What do they do to you in war? In basic training, they break you down, they build you up to do a job. But then once that job is done, they send you back where you came from, and you've been made into this thing that now there's no use for. That's exactly what Junkyard Joe is. Yeah,
It's tragic.
it is tragic. I love this. If Superman wasn't so good, or not Superman, if Clayface wasn't so good, this would have been my pick of the week. It's great. Still great.
Always consistent.
Yeah. Pull.
Yep. Pull.
Yep.
All right, let's get to Black Cloak number 2. Kelly Thompson, who we just had the good fortune to have on the show a couple weeks ago. Check that interview out if you haven't. Art and colors by Meredith McLaren, letters by Becca Carey. So the first issue of Black Cloak was very long. It was a long book, but it did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of introducing us to the characters and the issue, the problem of this series, why the book exists. But now we are past that point, and now we're in the, where does this go? Where are we going? How's this going to move forward? And I thought this was a pretty good second step. I don't know that I enjoyed it quite as much as the first issue, but the first issue also had a lot more room and things like that. Nothing that I necessarily didn't like about it. It's just not. It didn't do as much. It didn't have as much forward momentum as the first one did.
It's strangely a very quiet book. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I like that because of it. After reading Superman and reading Clayface, like, to have something that's a little more like slower paced, even though it's in this giant fantasy world. There's one guy is made out of clouds, another guy looks like Dr. Phosphorus. It's a quiet and slow paced book that's very character based.
Even a bit procedural.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think, in contrast to the first issue, makes sense, right? Like, you want to pump the brakes a little bit, start to get into some of the detective work, and especially after some of the faster pace in that first issue. This felt good. This felt like a good, not reset, but good momentum carried from the first issue into the second issue to be able to establish ourselves now in the world more so than we already did.
Yeah, and in terms of the writing, I think the pacing has been the real star of the series so far. Because I don't think it's an easy thing to pace this, especially this way. Matching the pacing with the world building, I think, is tricky. I think Kelly's actually kind of nailing it so far.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think giving Phaedra a personal connection to the crime is really smart. She's the nexus point for everything that's going on. The royal family, the victim. She's a detective. She's a part of everything that's happening, and an integral part. So as her story moves forward, and as they do the world building, the plot moves forward. So it's really smart multi-layer storytelling by Kelly Thompson, where by the end, she's learning critical information that she's personally invested in, because we know that this guy who was murdered is her former lover. So she's got skin in the game. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the real star of the show is the Meredith McLaren art. Holy hell. It's good. Real good.
Yeah.
There's just one panel that jumps out to me. It's in the flashback, which I think the way Becca Carey colors the flashback in these like blues and pinks very pastel colored, but only like maybe 3 different colors. But there's that one where she's like poking him, and it kind of looks like almost like a Street Fighter move where you can see all her different arms because it's the movement of her poking him.
The little
That was
jabs.
like very well done. It's like good cartooning. But then like the final page we get where we're in this like flyers only area of the city,
Yeah.
it looks bonkers there, and I was pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, I think the art does a lot to. I remember in the first issue I'd mentioned it felt webtoonish and like not in a like derogatory way necessarily, but it's simple, it's clean. There's not for the character models. There's not always a lot of detail, but for the backgrounds, there is a lot. Like to your point, Tyler, on that sign, you have this design that sits right above the no flyers. You get to see some of the architecture and structure. The tree has depth to it in the back, and then she's just a few colors. You don't see a face necessarily. The hands aren't built out to detail. So it's a good contrast.
It's a good point because it is very flat art, but
Mhm.
there's depth to it.
Yeah.
I think the colors really do some heavy lifting there that I think is it's noticeable.
Yeah.
In a good way.
An important thing about this book is that, from an art standpoint, is that I agree. It looks like webtoon, and I think that I've seen a lot of things like this, just being on the internet, and it's simple in that sense. But if you go to a comic book store and you look at the Western comic section, which is the large majority of a comic book store, and you pick up any book, you will highly unlikely will you pick up a book that looks like this. It's just gonna not really happen. And when you have art this unique and you have writing that's this strong, I think you have a hit. I think that's a recipe for success.
And I think I was gonna say it carries into the cover too. I think the cover design is great.
Yeah,
It
it's
has a
always the first
set
panel.
look to it. Yeah. And it's striking. It's like, I think the last time an Image book did this was, did you guys ever read Shudder?
No.
Yeah, man, I love Shudder.
Shudder was. I was going through my
That's a
comics lately,
great
and I found Shudder. Gorgeous book, but I think it's similar in this crazy big world building. But there's a set cover design that made every cover pop, but also like you can kind of see it in the colors. It's almost like a Goosebumps book in a way. You get your little window there with the art that tells you what's going on in the issue, but then there's some color coding there with the frame of it all. Yeah, I'm a sucker for some clean cover art like this. After reading Sins of Sinister, you get a giant barcode here, you get the banner there, and it's really off centered. Like, I was looking at the cover for the thumbnail of the video of this, and I'm like, man, this is just not a very good balanced cover. Black Cloak, fucking great cover.
Yeah.
I definitely say pull.
Yeah.
I'm still very, very intrigued by this world and this story. 100%.
Same. Pull.
It feels good to like it.
Dude,
Yeah.
you've been sleeping on Kelly Thompson too long.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. I am glad that you all woke me up.
A.
So those are the books. If you want us to review a book next week that you are really interested in, or it doesn't have to be next week, it could be a week in advance. Just let us know about what book that is. And if we want to, we'll add it to the listener poll. And then you can head to Twitter every Saturday, hopefully, after the show, and you can vote for which book you think we should review. I have to remind you, the listeners, undefeated.
Pretty good.
It's been my pick of the week, at least mine, every single week since we started the listener poll.
Every week for you did miss
every
a week.
single week.
I missed the week last week.
I wasn't there.
Doesn't count. Wow. Even the purgatory shit, huh?
That first issue, yeah.
Was it not? I made it my pick of the week the second, because that The second issue was not that good, but the rest of the week just was
Oh, it was bad.
worse.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's right.
they listened to our feedback. They got cover credits now on the next issue. So
Mhm.
It took them long enough.
I'm
Imagine.
wondering if somebody actually listened to us for that. But
Uh-oh.
It's not impossible, Tyler.
not impossible, improbable. But
No,
Indeed.
well, listen, we've got ears in higher places than you would think.
That is true. That is true. Well, we also want to let you guys know what books we're looking forward to next week. And we call this segment Pals Pulls. Tyler, take it away.
so I am pulling Hollow's Eve #1. It's by Erica Schultz and Michael Dowling. This is a mini. I'm not sure exactly the status of the book, but it's a new book based on Ben Reilly's wife gaining these new powers where she's kind of this anti-hero villain, but her whole thing is she has these old school, like Halloween, almost like Halloween 3, the movie, masks that she puts on and gives her different powers. So she'll put on, a werewolf mask and she turns into a werewolf. Put on a Frankenstein mask and she turns into Frankenstein's monster, and it's like a little burly. Really weird, but kind of a fun character. So I'm curious to see how they give her own thing going on.
Is there anyone in the Spider-Man books that just doesn't have powers? It's just a regular person.
Jonah, he's got the Spider Slayer armors, so I guess that.
Right.
Yeah. Aunt May,
Oh, I'm just about to say that.
He was
got-
Silver Surfer.
hot. Oh, that's true. Yeah, and a power of hotcakes too.
Well, wheat cakes.
Wheat cakes. Yeah. And then I also want to check out Cosmic Ghost Rider #1. So
Oh, is that a new one?
yeah, so that's what I said. And I was like, all right, really? And then I saw it was by Stephanie Phillips and Juan Cabal, and I was like, okay,
Ooh,
you know what?
it's a good pick.
You might have gotten me. You might have got me with that one. So yeah, creative team alone on this was like, all right, yeah, I'll check this out. The character's fine. It's Frank Castle, who's from the far future, who's gone crazy and becomes his Ghost Rider, which apparently just turns him into Deadpool. I hope they kind of get away from that a bit in this, but I like space Marvel stuff. So, Sean, to no surprise to anyone, you're picking up Human Target #12.
This is it. This is it. The whodunit is done. And now all that is left is to wrap things up. I am hoping that the creative team of Tom King and Greg Smallwood can stick the landing. I have a hard time thinking of a reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because of how stellar this has been the entire time. But you better believe we will be reviewing this on the show next week.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
Typical
Damn
Marco.
it.
Speaking of Margot, Sergeant Rock versus Army of the Dead #6.
Yes, this is the end of the 6-issue mini. Anything from DC Horror has been just solid, and I think 2 issues behind on this. So I'm on issue 4. Easy Company has come across and is trying to kill zombie Hitler, and it's just bonkers. So I'm having a fun time. Anytime I can see more Sergeant Rock, please give it to me.
You're bearing the lead here. It's Eduardo Risso on art. That's
It's
some good
very
stuff.
good art. Very good art.
That's some good stuff. Yeah, it's written by Bruce Campbell too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
for all you Raimi, Army of the Dead, Evil Dead types, that's your thing.
Yep.
And Marco and Kale wanted to check out Phantom Road #1.
Ooh, let's go, Kale.
Well, listen, Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walter, come on.
Yep.
Like I wasn't gonna pick this up. So this is about a long haul truck driver who is attempting to stay ahead of his tragic past. He picks up a woman named Birdie, and on a midnight run, it becomes a frantic journey to survive a surreal world. The solicit says it's grindhouse horror meets high concept supernatural fantasy.
I'm cool with
Yup.
that.
Easy.
Sounds cool.
And Kale, you also had a omnibus you wanted to pick up.
And now listen, I'm not an omnibus guy, but the Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, Immortal Iron Fist stuff is releasing in omnibus form, and it is one of my all-time, probably top 3 favorite books.
Is it really?
I'm going to, I don't know, sell my dog.
Yeah, in stock
to
trades, you
get
get a
this.
half off. Even then, it's still like $75, but still, that's
Damn, that's still.
All right, so I'll sell my wife too, and that'll probably get me there.
yeah. I have been waiting for this to be reprinted in an omnibus since I've been reading comics. I think
Me too.
It's
I've
always
never read it.
I've always I saw this at the Strand once as an omnibus when it was first printed, but it was beat up, and like I was like, oh, I'm not going to spend money on, like, it looked ragged. And it's been one where, like, even like the deluxe editions have been hard to get, really.
Yeah. All of the copies of the trades that I have are marked down and probably water damaged.
Really?
I
You like it that much, huh? Jeez.
I do, yeah. And I've had to
It was a drool joke, Sean. That was a drool joke. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I've only just got the last volume, I think, last Christmas. So I got the first one when it came out, and I got the last one last year. So it's a tough one to find.
Robotters in the YouTube chat says that he cradles his omnibuy like a baby, and that's the right way to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't have that spine
Yeah.
crease.
Listen,
Yeah.
if you need to like work on your muscles, work on anything like that, you can just read these boys. They're huge.
I just I lift 2 copies of Chris Ware's Building Stories. That's how I.
Yeah.
Building muscles and building stories.
Mhm.
Hey, Aaron Ruiz asks if this Iron Fist is highly recommended. This is the only Iron Fist that's recommended.
Carrie Andrews one is okay.
Oh yeah,
No,
Andrews
that's-
Iron
yeah.
Fist was nuts.
No, it was good. But this one's top guy. 'Cause you
Yeah.
get everything in this one.
This is what his lore is based on. Like, this is
Yeah.
the Iron Fist lore book.
This is
He was just a kung fu guy before this, really.
This is like proto Fraction Hawkeye.
Yeah, Aha is on it too. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is,
Travel Foreman too, I believe.
Pardon?
I think Travel Foreman worked on some of it as well.
Yeah, I think so.
is Luke Cage in this?
Bits. Very, very little.
I love the fact that whenever one of them has a book, they're all sort of in it.
Yeah.
Like Luke, Jessica, Iron Fist.
Like the
Yeah.
Seinfeld crew.
Yeah.
This one is more about Danny meeting the older Fists. And that's like the majority of the cast.
Okay.
So Luke is in, I want to say, the first issue.
And
And then
from what I remember, this is the book where he gets his famous catchphrase, "Get fisted." That's where this comes from, I believe.
that sounds right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
what?
sounds right.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's his catchphrase?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do you have a better one, Marco?
D tier.
Please.
But yeah,
Get some taste, Swamp Thing fan.
those are our polls. Go after your muck hole.
Gladly.
What's funny is I don't know if that was true or not.
Guess you'll
And
never-
I
you'll
don't
read the book.
I think I
I'll-
know.
I'll never tell.
I think I know, but I don't think the point is whether I know. Anyway,
those are our books.
yeah, those are our polls this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we will be back next week to let you guys know, or to review and let you guys know what we think about that week's crop of books. If there are books you want us to take a look at, do leave us a comment anywhere that you find us, whether that be on social media at the Comics Pals, whether that be in the comment section of YouTube, or wherever else you're listening to this. There's a comment section somewhere. You can let us know what books you want us to check out. If you want to watch this live, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, as we said earlier, God's Hour. Join us, talk some comics. Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for the main show. We'll be talking all about the new Jonathan Hickman, Brian Hitch book, and much more comics news.
It's going to be the Saturday of events, apparently.
Oh yeah, Nights of Night Terrors.
And there was another Marvel one announced too.
Just
Jeez.
saw in the Discord that they just put a Star Wars one out too.
Jesus.
So
Oh, I don't mind talking about Star Wars.
You want to talk Star Wars?
I love Star Wars, man. I have Star Wars on my leg. I'd show it, but I'm not wearing shoes, and nobody gets free feet content. So
Good call. Good call.
Paid only.
That's right.
How many weeks in a row is this? With Tyler making the feet
well,
references?
hold on. let's see.
52?
It started?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been
He
here
joined in
over a
January.
year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So week
Unreal.
69.
Hey.
All right.